to the report of the Ahmed Gulak Committee, which conducted the initial primaries that produced Senator Hope Uzodinma as the party's governorship candidate for the state. Chief Bola Ahmed Tinubu on Wednesday met with President Buhari, where he maintained support for the actions of Comrade Ashomole and advised the aggrieved aspirants in the recent primaries to take their failure in good faith. The national chairman of the All Progressive Congress, Comrade Adams Ashomole, says he will not mortgage his conscience in order to keep his job. Speaking on the fallout of the APC primaries, he dismissed rumors that some governors were mobilizing to unseat him. According to him, he knows that the job is not a pensionable job, as he will leave it one day. Hence, he will do the job according to the rule and his conscience. He said out of the 23 APC governors, only 3 were not pleased with the outcome of the primaries in the state. Comrade Ashomole said that no one could begrudge the governors for not being happy if a particular outcome did not coincide with their expectations. He said he neither had the power to appoint nor the power to change anything, particularly when things had been done properly. According to him, the 3 governors who are unhappy with him are his friends. You know how the saying goes, a divided house cannot stand on itself. The United States President Donald Trump has suggested stone-throwing migrants might be shot by the U.S. military as he unveiled a proposal to limit the right to apply for asylum. In a speech at the White House that contained several falsehoods, the president said he's seeking to limit asylum claims only to those who applied at the legal entry points. He also claimed the move was necessary because a succession of migrant caravans, their location still 1,000 miles from the border, was considered by some people to be an invasion. He said asylum is not a program for those living in poverty. There are billions of people in the world living at the poverty level. The United States cannot simply absorb them, said the U.S. President, Mr. Donald Trump. He said asylum is a very specific protection based on those fleeing. The migrants making their way northwards have come largely from El Salvador, Honduras, Guatemala, and all of which suffer from grinding poverty and high levels of violence. He said some had thrown stones and attacked Mexican people and troops, a reference to clashes between Mexican security forces and up to 1,500 migrants at the Guatemala-Mexico border that left 1 migrant dead. Meanwhile, even as the number of migrants attached to the original caravan continues to dwindle, a third group of around 500 migrants from El Salvador entered Guatemala last weekend. Mr. Trump said he had told the military commanders at the southern border that if migrants tried to throw rocks at them, the troops should act as though the rocks were rifles.
I hope there won't be that, but I will tell you this. Anybody throwing stones, rocks, like they did to Mexico and the Mexican military, Mexican police, where they badly hurt police and soldiers of Mexico, we will consider that a firearm. Because there's not much difference when you get hit in the face with a rock, which, as you know, it was very violent a few days ago, very, very violent.
A while ago, I sat down with the presidential candidate of the Allied Congress Party of Nigeria, ACPN, Dr. Oby Ezekwesili, and we spoke about her presidential ambition and her plans for Nigeria.
Of continuing to operate at the level that we are operating. And so it is important that we should collectively decide to change the direction of leadership of our country so that we can begin the very arduous work of building a new society.
Now, I was at your World Press Conference yesterday, and you did talk a lot about the country, and you sounded very confident about your chances of emerging as the next president of Nigeria. What gives you this confidence, judging by the fact that your political party is relatively new?
Well, that's exactly why I'm going to win this election, because I am the more or less the new kid on the block. I come with a different message of what we must do as a country. Nigerians have a strong appetite for something different. There's been cyclical pattern of failure, the entrenched kind of politics that is politics of power and power grab, power for the sake of power, while the country just descends into destabilization and economic stagnation. Look at the kind of misery and despondency that we have in the society. People are tired of the failure, and so people need something different. They need to see that there would be sacrificial leadership. That's what I represent. I embody this courage that Nigeria does not have to be trapped in mediocrity. I called it aggressive mediocrity of our political class. I think it's time for us to say goodbye to that. And my own position is that the dominant political class are running for themselves. I am the one who is running for the Nigerian people. I am the candidate of the people of Nigeria, and the people of Nigeria are more than our political class.
Now, you're a different class of politician, even though you just joined politics recently. And the way politics is done in Nigeria, they have weaponized poverty. If you look at the Human Development Index that the World Bank just released, we're on the bottom rung of basically everything. How do you plan to play this politics or do politics by making money irrelevant? I'm not saying that, of course, you need money for logistics and to move around and all of that, but the vote buying, the gifts, the inducement, because people, the hardcore poor people, that's what they gravitate to. So
I need you to know that in 2015, there were 67 million or such registered voters for the elections. There were only 34 million of them, or about 32 million of them, that bothered to do the accreditation in preparation to vote. On the day of the election, only 28 million came out to vote. 15 million for the winner, being our current president, and 30 million voters for the president, the former president that he defeated. Now, what does that say to you? What it says to you is that voter apathy had set in so badly that more than about 40 million of the people that had the card did not bother to engage our democracy. And majority of those people would say to you that they were not a waste of my time to engage this democracy because the choices that I'm faced with are horrible. And this year, we already see that an additional 14 million new voters have entered the register. Now compare that number to the 28 million that engaged in the elections. So the real strategy for us is to engage with a class of and block of Nigerian voters who have simply said, this is not doable, this is not something I want to be part of. And we need to get them into that mode where that mode where they, that mode where they are thinking of the rescue of our country. This country is in a precipitous situation, and we need to rally as a people to make that happen. So the message of our own campaign is a message that says, don't expect us to give you money. We're going to show you the evidence of why you must do something different. You accepting 4,000 is basically sacrificing the future. And that future is actually already now. So, and then we are doing it in a way that we're using digital and analytical tools, and we're using data, and we're connecting to social networks. So we're not the typical, we don't want to have the entrenched, corrupted structure of existing parties. We are here determined to show that what happened in Brazil just some days ago can also happen in our country.
Now, looking at the geopolitical arrangement of Nigeria, there's a somewhat type of unwritten power shifting arrangement and zoning. Just last week, the Honorable Minister of Power, Works and Housing, Mr. Fashola, said Yorubas, appealing to ethnic Yorubas, appealing to ethnic primordial sentiments that Yorubas should vote for President Buhari because they will stand a chance to produce a president in 2023. Is this a concern for you, the politics of ethnicity, and what do we need to do to shake it off?
So Nigerians who have been at the receiving end of poor governance, frankly don't care what language the leader that would rally the society to build a vibrant and prosperous democracy, a democracy that's not just prosperous, but one that offers equality of opportunity to everyone, regardless of what zone they are from. They don't care where that person is from. The man who is living in abject poverty, out of the 87 million Nigerians that are now known to live in extreme poverty, the one who is living in such class in Kano that is not different from the woman living in such class in Ibadan, not different from the young woman living in such class in Nnewi, and not different from the young man who is living in such class in Bayelsa. So the Nigerian people are tired of bad governance. They're tired of the leadership failures. What they want is someone who can lead in a way that we can build a nation where they can see that they have a stake in it. And that's what matters. It is the political class that carry on with this artificial construct of zoning. Their zoning, how has it improved the lot of even their own people? Which of the presidents can you say, you know, the people are screaming, oh, great, you know?
People in their hometown,
that's what I
like
mean. I am saying that. And basically, you know, so, you know, I mean, we know a particular...
if you go as far back as 1983, and you look at the newspapers, the pre-Shagari campaigns, it's basically the same issues: light, electricity. We haven't made much progress as a people, and there's been talks about, the reason why we're not making a lot of progress is because of restructuring. Are you in support of restructuring, and what type of restructuring do you think Nigeria should do, or do you support?
It is very clear that we are in a state of structural imbalance. Even if we didn't know it before, we know it now. We know that we don't have the kind of structure that enables us to achieve high accelerated productivity and competitiveness. And so my own conversation around restructuring is going to be the one that talks about how do we have structures that enable our productivity and competitiveness to be on a higher rate of growth every time for the Nigerian individual, for the Nigerian state, for the Nigerian business environment. And so restructuring is a conversation that we must have, but we have to have it with an end in mind. And that end in mind is the restructuring that enables the economic prosperity of our country. The economic prosperity that brings in everybody. That sense that we are pursuing inclusive growth and that we are maximizing the opportunities that each person and each section of this country can contribute to the process of our economic development. Yes.
Now, you used to be former vice president of the World Bank. You've advised heads of states. You've worked at international development at the highest levels. How would you bring this wealth of experience into governance in Nigeria if you emerge president?
Oh, well, I mean, I guess you know the answer to that already. Just by declaring that I will run for presidency, the international community is adjusting itself. They're already saying to me that they actually imagine that there would be an Obieze Ezekwesili presidency in Nigeria. And so you can imagine the massive goodwill that that would bring to our country. I always say to people that the resources that you require in order to build your economy, to build your society, or to solve your problems, whatever the problem may be, are not usually well understood by people. That partnership is the most critical resource that you need. You know, when you get partnership locally, and you get partnership internationally, and you get partnership across all spectrum of human life, it reduces the amount of things that you have to do by yourself. And then the next thing you need is knowledge, plenty of knowledge. Countries like Singapore, countries like India and China, who are later entrants to this process of rapid economic growth and development, are beneficiaries of knowledge that others produced. So we are going to benefit from that, because I do know that knowledge is a massive resource for development. And then finance is key for development. And, you know, for me, just knowing that space and understanding how, you know, you can mobilize resources by the quality of policies that you put on the table. I am excited about what's possible when I get elected as president of Nigeria.
Thanks for watching Politics with GA. Until next time, I'm Benga Aborowa.
The political decisions people make will affect many lives. Many people see politics as the government and the laws being made. While that is true, it's way more complicated than that.
I don't know what type of procedure is this.
Some of you may be aspiring to positions of leadership in the political arena.
And I accepted full responsibility.
But the question is, why do you want to lead?
It has everything to do with you. Every law that is made will impact many. Sometimes
ọmọ òní ní kò gbé tí wá kò gèjè ọmọ òní tí ẹ lọ síbi tó lérò ní gbogbo ọjọ́ ayé ẹ ò ní rí bí. Bí wọ́n bá ń pín wàhálà ìdààmú ò ní ẹni rówó rà bẹ́ẹ̀ ni ò ní kábàámọ̀ ẹni tó máa bá ṣe tó máa kó bá ìgbé ayé ẹ kò ní bẹ́ẹ̀ rí wọn náà ní bá rí. Ọmọ adùn ẹnu àbùkù ò ní kàn ẹ́ o ayé ò ní rí ẹ mú o. Mo sọ fún ẹni tinútinú tó lọ́lá ọyàn méjèèjì tó kú nígbà yà ni mo súre fún ẹ eré àmú ẹ abiyamọ ayé abiyamọ ọ̀run wọ́n súre fún ẹ ó yẹ sáré gbé bàbá wọlé ó ti ṣú ara ó ti tọ́ ara kò ní jẹ́ tiẹ̀. Wọnú ògo tuntun lọ Olúwaṣẹ́gun wọnú ògo tuntun lọ ó yá wọnú ògo tuntun lọ wọnú ògo tuntun ẹlẹ́dàá mi.
Mami, airtime yín kọ́.
Ṣé ìwọ ti rókun tó gbẹ̀rí? O ti rí ọ̀sà kó gbẹ̀rí? Kò lè gbẹ́ ń bì.
Àmímà.
Àwọn ò lè ń sọ̀rọ̀ bẹ́ẹ̀.
Bẹ́ẹ̀ni àtàwọn ọ̀rẹ́ mi.
Àwọn ọ̀rẹ́ ẹ̀ ó yá fi sí spíkà.
Wọ́n ń gbọ́ yín.
Ní ẹ̀bùn ńlá tọ́mọ mi gbé wá fèmí yìí. Ọlọ́run á ràn yín lọ́wọ́ ẹ̀yin náà lè ṣerú ẹ̀ fáwọn.
Get 10 times your recharge value to call and browse anyhow. Recharge with *220 * the PIN hash to enjoy this offer. Available to new and existing subscribers.
Mr. Anansa, èmi ń gbàdúrà, ìwọ ń polówó ọjà, ìwọ náà borí ẹ̀ wá kó wá gbàdúrà. Bẹ́ẹ̀ ni, á dáa fún ẹ. Ṣé orí bó ti ń tajà fẹ́ lòmíì? Àwọn máa sìn ìwọ náà àdìrú wà dìgbà, ayé àdára, ò ní dààmú.
Airtel, the smartphone network.
Africa's richest man, Aliko Dangote, is a businessman, investor, and founder of Dangote Group. He was born in Kano, Nigeria in 1957. Dangote lost his father at a very young age, but this never deterred him from excelling. He recalls having a knack for business right from elementary school, where he sold cartons of sweet to make profit. He obtained his bachelor's degree in business studies and administration from Al-Azhar University in Cairo. Dangote Group, which started as a small trading firm, kicked off in 1977 with a seed capital of $3,000, which he borrowed from his uncle at age 21. Dangote Group has over time evolved into becoming the largest industrial group in Nigeria, including Dangote Cement, Dangote Sugar Refinery, and Dangote Flour, and his most recent project, Dangote Oil Refinery. He expresses his patriotism to Nigeria and Africa, not only in words but charitable deeds. He donated 150 million naira to stop the spread of Ebola in 2014. In 2018, he built a 1.2 billion naira business school in Bayero University, Kano. He was conferred with Nigeria's second highest honor, Grand Commander of the Order of the Niger, by the former President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan. Forbes ranked him first place as the richest man in Africa. Dangote is married and has 3 children. And this is the Mogul in 90 seconds.
That money will shoot every person that we know can shoot. We don't let people die there.
You could have killed me for a long period of time.
Since that time why I carry gonorrhea. I first go hospital.
Very important to care about politics because you should know what is going on around you. It's also very important to have a say in what goes on in your society. The political decisions people make will affect many lives. Many people see politics as the government and the laws being made. While that is true, it's way more complicated than that. It has everything to do with you. Every law that is made will impact many. Sometimes the decisions do affect people negatively. Therefore, it's very important to note that every vote that you cast will either break or make people. Politics with GA brings you the latest political news as well as insight and analysis that will discuss the most important issues that matter to you. Today's top stories are...
And the Pentecostal Fellowship of Nigeria.
I'm here at Yunus Bashorin Street where the
fire destroyed our transformer completely.
The lowest level you can.
I'm Black Banjo. This is Plus TV Africa. The big stories live here.
Big stories live here.
Big stories live here.
Good afternoon and many thanks for joining us on News on the Hour on Plus TV Africa. I'm David Alabi and here are the stories making the headlines. Now we begin with reports that President Muhammadu Buhari has warned Nigerian elites to stop misleading the people through unguarded utterances. Represented by the Director of Corporate Communications, National Universities Commission, Ibrahim Yakazai, the President gave the caution at the 24th convocation ceremony of the University of Uyo on Saturday. He said that the federal government would not condone or tolerate provocative remarks capable of causing fear and spread hatred among the people from any person or group of persons. Quote, law enforcement agencies should fish out people who make inciting statements, instigate civil disobedience, broadcast hate speeches, or stir strife, riot, and rebellion, and bring them to book. Now, following the court injunction restraining the Labour Congress from embarking on strike, the Minister of Labour and Employment, Senator Chris Ngige, says conciliation on the national minimum wage will still continue on Sunday. The minister in the statement said, quote, the conciliation meeting involving the organised labour, the organised private sector and government scheduled for Sunday, November 4 at the office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation by 6 p.m. is still on course and will hold, end of quote. Senator Ngige said that the meeting will be followed by yet another meeting of the National Tripartite Minimum Wage Committee meeting and strike on the 6th of November. The national president of NUPENG has said that since his union is an affiliate of the NLC, it would fully adhere to any directive the NLC gave. The organized labor had fixed November 6 for the commencement of an indefinite strike, even though the federal government on Friday obtained an order from the National Industrial Court restraining the organized labor from doing so. Last week, the Nigeria Governors Forum said it could only pay 22,500 naira as minimum wage, a position that was rejected by the unions who insist on a minimum wage of 30,000 naira. Now, the Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project, SERAP, has urged President Muhammadu Buhari to order a second probe of Governor Abdullahi Ganduje of Kano State. SERAP asked the President to direct the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Abubakar Malami, SAN, and appropriate anti-corruption agencies to also investigate the allegations. Quote, if there is relevant and sufficient admissible evidence, Mr. Ganduje should face prosecution at the expiration of his tenure as governor, end of quote. The organization also urged the government to instruct the Attorney General and/or appropriate anti-corruption agencies to ensure the protection and guarantee the safety and security of journalist Jafar, who reportedly published the video clips. The governor has been probed by Kano House of Assembly over the widely circulating video clips allegedly showing Governor Ganduje receiving bribe. Imo State Governor Rochas Okorocha on Saturday withdrew security personnel and staff attached to the office of the Deputy Governor of the state, Ezimadu Mary. Reacting swiftly, the Deputy Governor has condemned the action, describing the action as unwarranted. He expressed disappointment at the decision during a conversation with journalists, recalling that since his acquittal from the impeachment plot in the High Court sitting in Owerri presided by Justice Benjamin Hieka, there had been gross disregard to his office. He added that the Commissioner of Police, Dasuki Galandanchi, could not restore his security in spite of the court's verdict since September, noting that it portended danger of his life. The governor said he wishes to notify the Inspector General of Police, Commissioner of Police, Imo State and other security agencies to take note of the suspicious actions and inactions of Imo State government led by His Excellency Rochas Okorocha. Moving on, Kazim Gaidam, the Electoral Commissioner INEC in Adamawa State, says it has 288,043 unclaimed permanent voter cards. Quote, we have a total of 288,043 uncollected permanent voter cards, out of which 164,409 cards are for 2017 and 2018 registrations, and 425,252 authentic registered voters in the state. The Electoral Commissioner expressed concern over the development and attributed the situation to lack of proper voter education and enlightenment. He, however, appealed to those who registered and are yet to collect to come forward and collect their cards. The Ministry of Mines and Steel Development says it has commenced nationwide environmental monitoring to ensure mining title holders comply with the mining laws and regulations in the country. Salim Salam, the Director of Mines Environmental Compliance, said that the program would be conducted in the 6 geopolitical zones of the country. He said that the states selected are from the 6 geopolitical zones, which included Edo, Cross River, Oyo, Ebonyi, Nasarawa, Benue, Kogi, and Kaduna states, as well as Zamfara and the Federal Capital Territory. The director said that some teams from the department had visited 6 sites in Ogun and 6 others in Edo State, adding that samples were taken from all the sites for analysis. Quote, we also visited lead and zinc mining sites in Ebonyi and a granite mining site in Calabar, end of quote. He added that the program, which started in October, would be completed by the middle of December. Also, the Minister of Power Works and Housing, Babatunde Fashola, says over 90 million Nigerians lack power supply. This is against effort made by government since the year 1999 to ensure the availability of electricity to ensure economic growth in Nigeria. Well, our reporter, Mary Chinda, takes a look at the power supply situation in the country, especially from the perspective of residents in Lagos.
Recently, the Ministry for Power Works and Housing had announced that there has been a major improvement in power generation and transmission across the country. A major improvement from the 4,000 megawatts generated in 2015 to 7,000 megawatts as of August 2018. Question is, how exactly does the extra 3,000 megawatts translate into improving the lives of the ordinary Nigerians? Sounds of generators in most places in Africa's most populous nation, Nigeria. The unstable power supply has been as old as the nation itself.
Well, the time we spend using generator is more than the time we spend in having light. Sometimes we don't even have it throughout the day. Sometimes it's when we're closing, maybe around 7 p.m. they bring it. So we are used to it already. So we just prepare ourselves having generator. If you can see, some of us, we even have more than one.
Most times what we actually use is a generator 24 hours. But sometimes now they do bring lights. They will bring the lights. Sometimes they will bring like 5 minutes time. They will take it back. But constantly they do bring lights in the nights. And during that time, between 6:30 to 10:30, but that time we have already closed from work.
This shop owner, who doesn't own a generator, says half of the day he loses his customers.
As you can see, there is no light. And it makes us to lose customer. Because if customer walks in, there's no light. Maybe I have fan here. And if they walk inside because of heat, so they will go outside. They will go. So we normally lose customer because of it.
Some residents who spoke with Plus TV Africa say they have been on the receiving end as power supply is generally poor.
Sometimes the NEPA may be light around 7 o'clock in the evening, so they will not take it till the following morning.
The power situation is very poor. For the past 3 days now in my area, we've not been having lights, and it's quite terrible. So I have to be bringing fuel from my work every day. So I don't think I'm not happy with it.
Light situation anyway is not that balanced. It's not 100% balanced at all. We use light to sleep in the night, but during the day, there's only a challenge of light.
We have light from now 9 o'clock in the night. They brought our light to 5 o'clock in the morning. Then they will take their...
As Nigerians continue to call that stakeholders in the power industry intensify effort to ensure that the lack of power is no longer an issue in the country, one thing that is certain is that it may take quite a long time for Nigeria to achieve.
News on the hour on Plus TV Africa, and here's our African news package. Now, Egypt announced on Sunday that gunmen linked to Friday Minya attack were among 19 militants killed in a shootout with security forces. The Interior Ministry said the militants were tracked to a desert hideout west of the central Manian province when the men opened fire when security forces surrounded them. Published photographs purporting to show the bodies of the slain militants. At least 7 people were killed and others were wounded in the Minya attack on a bus driving towards a Coptic monastery. ISIS has claimed responsibility for Friday's attack, though it provided no evidence of its involvement. Meanwhile, Pope Francis on Sunday expressed his sorrow for the victims of the attack on the Coptic Orthodox Church in Egypt on Friday. The Holy Father offered condolences to the families and the community. 7 people were killed and 18 others wounded, including children, when 2 buses were attacked near a Coptic monastery in Egypt's Minya province on Saturday. Islamic State has claimed responsibility for the attack.
Esprimo il mio dolore per l'attentato terroristico che 2 giorni fa ha colpito la Chiesa copta ortodossa in Egitto. Prego per le vittime, pellegrini uccisi per il solo fatto di essere cristiani e chiedo a Maria Santissima di consolare le famiglie e l'intera comunità.
In another development, police say 4 people have died and 2 others seriously injured when a car and a truck collided on the N1 in Limpopo in the early hours of Sunday morning. The collision between the 2 vehicles happened along the N1 on Sunday at about 2 a.m., about 10 kilometers south of Nabram Street. According to information, the car was traveling in a southerly direction and collided with the truck traveling in the opposite direction. The truck overturned and blocked both northbound and southbound lanes of the N1. 4 people in the sedan passed on. 2 people, 1 from each vehicle, suffered serious injuries and were taken to hospital. Uganda says it expects to finalize a $2.2 billion loan deal with China's Exim Bank by the end of this year to pay for part of a railway line to connect Kenya's Mombasa seaport with Kampala. The new standard gauge railway line will replace an existing old line to help make shipments faster and even cheaper. Uganda's Works and Transport Minister Monica Azuba Ntege told a news conference in Kampala negotiations with Exim Bank were in advanced stages. The team has already been here, but there are some other things that wanted to be clarified, so we've already supplied them. So I really believe that anytime this year, they'll be calling on us to sign the agreement, she said. China is helping to fund the project in both countries. As in other areas of sub-Saharan Africa, China has become a major investor in Uganda. It has mostly put money into roads, hydropower dams, fiber optic cable networks, and other infrastructure, usually offering cheap loans. The news continues after this short break.
I feel it, we feel it. Got spirit, you can't beat it. So even when I lose, I am not defeated. We all breathe it, we all bleed it, we all live it. The Niger spirit, the Niger spirit. We love it, we live it. Niger all the way.
Niger all the way.
Every day starts with a vision. And as the saying goes, if you believe you can fly, you will. At Arik Air, we are determined to make good of every promise we make, maintaining operational excellence, an efficient fleet, and team friendliness. Flying demands the best of safety procedures, and that is why we are abreast of global standards delivered by top technicians using some of the most advanced technologies. At Arik Air, we don't just believe in flying, we are passionate about the flying experience. An experience that safely delivers you at each destination, feeling comfort and pleasure. An experience which truly keeps you closer to your dreams. This is our vision. Today, tomorrow, and beyond. Arik Air, Africa's fastest growing airline.
We now shift focus to reports from the foreign scene. Early results indicate that 56.8% of residents in the Pacific island of New Caledonia have rejected independence and voted to remain an overseas territory of France. The referendum held on Sunday was marked with a high turnout of 73.68%. The decades-long separatism movement was spearheaded by the Kanak and Socialist National Liberation Front, whose supporters belong to the island's indigenous population. The separatists boycotted the previous independence vote in 1987 when full sovereignty was rejected by more than 98% of voters. And moving on, Italian officials say at least 12 people have sadly been killed by severe weather on the island of Sicily, bringing the overall death toll from the storm sweeping Italy to 29 on Sunday. The spokesperson for the Sicilian capital's prefecture said torrential rain triggering landslides and floodwaters led to the death of 10 people in the region along Palermo. There are still some people missing, he added. 2 more fatalities occurred in the region around the Sicilian town of Agrigento when the car they were traveling in was hit by a landslide. Italy's Civil Protection Agency said the number of deaths caused by the wave of bad weather stood at 17, excluding the fatalities in Sicily. In a tweet on Sunday, Italian Prime Minister Giuseppe Conte said he was leaving to visit Sicily, adding he was also in constant touch with officials on the dramatic situation in the north of the country. And as of Sunday, a total of 105 body bags, sadly few containing intact remains, had been recovered and handed to police for forensic identification, yet only 7 victims have so far been identified. I'm sure the total will increase, Mr. Songji said. The agency is prioritizing recovering human remains, and the cockpit voice recorder The second black box from the wrecked near-new Boeing C0737 MAX that smashed into the sea early on Monday, 13 minutes after it took off from Jakarta. Divers have been honing in on ping signals in their search for the second box as investigators try to get data from a partly damaged and received permission to turn back to Jakarta. It remains a puzzle what exactly went wrong. It's now time to bring you updates from the world of business.
Very important to care about politics because you should know what is going on around you. It's also very important to have a say in what goes on in your society. The political decisions people make will affect many lives. Many people see politics as the government and the laws being made. While that is true, it's way more complicated than that. It has everything to do with you. Every law that is made will impact many. Sometimes the decisions do affect people negatively. Therefore, it's very important to note that every vote that you cast will either break or make people. Politics with GA brings you the latest political news as well as insight and analysis that will discuss the most important issues that matter to you.
You're welcome to Business News. Now, in order to drive local content implementation and simplify the procurement and tendering processes for oil and gas projects, the Nigerian Content Development and Monitoring Board and the Indigenous Petroleum Producers Group have signed a service-level agreement. And that's according to the board. The agreement was developed by the two parties in line with the provisions of the Nigerian Oil and Gas Industry Content Development Act and in sync with the board's 10-year strategic roadmap. The Executive Secretary, NCDMB, Simbi Wabote, said the agreement would enhance the reduction of contracting timelines to 6 months to meet the targets set by Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Dr. Ibe Kachuku. According to the statement, the agreement with the IPPG is the third in the series as the NCDMB has executed similar pacts with the Nigeria LNG Limited and the Oil Producers Trade Section, the umbrella body of major oil-producing companies. And still talking business, the Central Bank of Nigeria has disbursed a total of 38.53 billion naira to power firms, 1 distribution company, 17 generating companies, 6 gas companies and 5 service providers between January and June this year under the Nigeria Electricity Market Stabilization Facility. That's according to a new report by the Apex Bank. The facility was set up by the CBN in 2015 to provide liquidity for the Nigerian electricity supply industry and put it on the... And that's it in business news. That is our still ahead on Plus TV Africa News. It's our roundup in entertainment and sport. We'll be back in just a moment. Don't go anywhere.
Are you sure you want to do this?
Madam, go and bring us your husband. Okay, hello baby. We're in this together, okay? Can you hear me? Keep coming forward. Wait, stop. You okay, lean to your right. Keep walking down, keep walking to the left. Yes. You're almost here. Keep going. You are here. Wow, you did it.
I'm just so glad I didn't have to use my cane to do this.
And I am so glad no other man got you before me. Let me be your eyes.
We will never stop working to give you a network you can rely on so you can enjoy life's special moments. MTN, everywhere you go.
That money we shoot every person that we know we can shoot. We don't let people die there.
You could have killed me for a long period of time.
Is that time why I carry gonorrhea? I first go hospital first, but it didn't no go. Now I come make that mama.
He just pulled it, he pointed and shot.
What is the soul of a man?
They suffer too much. They suffer too much.
Issues around the Nigerian police, we have to tackle it holistically.
Very important to care about politics because you should know what is going on around you. It's also very important to have a say in what goes on in your society. The political decisions people make will affect many lives. Many people see politics as the government and the laws being made. While that is true, it's way more complicated than that. It has everything to do with you. Every law that is made will impact many. Sometimes the decisions do affect people negatively. Therefore, it's very important to note that every vote that you cast will either break or make people. Politics with GA brings you the latest political news as well as insight and analysis that will discuss the most important issues that matter to you.
And in entertainment news, American rapper Cardi B reportedly suffered from a seizure and was taken to the hospital for medical attention. Cardi's team made an announcement on the social media page that they were cancelling performances in Greensboro and Charlotte NC, but the main reason for the cancellation, according to her team, is due to illness. According to reports, she suffered from a crash. Bataille's funeral began at a Bangkok temple on Saturday with Buddhist bathing rituals and will be followed by recitation ceremonies. Players will be attending services on Sunday and Monday after beating Cardiff 1-0 in the first game since his death. Before the match, they wore T-shirts featuring a picture of Mr. Vijay. They stood for a minute's silence along with Leicester City staff and fans ahead of the kickoff. And still talking sports, Wayne Rooney is set to come out of international retirement to make a farewell appearance for England against the United States next month. The 33-year-old England record goal scorer with 53 points has not played for the Three Lions since a 3-0 victory over Scotland in November 2016. But Rooney, who plays for DC United, is expected to earn his 120th cap in the friendly at Wembley on November 15. The game will raise funds for Wayne Rooney's foundation. After moving to the United States in July, Rooney scored 12 goals to guide DC United from the bottom of the Major League Soccer table into the playoffs. But the former Manchester United and Everton forward missed a penalty in a shootout as his side were knocked out in the first round. And that's a news roundup of events at this hour from our Lagos studio. For more news, update and broadcast, please follow us at Plus TV Africa. That's on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. And please do remember to subscribe to our YouTube page at Plus TV Africa. We'll be back later with more stories making the headlines across the African continent and the rest of the world. To join us again, I'm David Alabi. Enjoy your Sunday.
Hi everyone, a good Sunday to you. This is Tea Time Roundup, where we bring you all of the finest bits from your favorite entertainment news program, Tea Time. So on today's Roundup, we've got specially for you the most dramatic headlines, the most dramatic conversations, and the most dramatic clips ever. But before I bore you, go ahead and watch on. On the program today, we have studio guests. They are hardworking and consistent, and according to reports, they are part of the Nigerian musicians that are changing the sound of global pop. Their first single, Swegbe, was so successful, it garnered over 1 million views on social media. With a total number of 54.6 thousand followers between them, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to introduce the matchless, the melodious, and the multi-dimensional Mars and Barzini.
And the crowd goes...
What's up?
So it's good to have you on the show. Thank you very much.
Yeah. It's good to be here.
And you guys are looking fly too.
Thank you very much.
You need to tell me who designed this outfit.
We have a couple of in-house tailors working with us, but everybody's working for Sheep Clothing. That's the name of the
brand.
The brand, Sheep.
Yeah. Okay.
So will Sheep Clothing be clothing me soon?
Yeah, sure. If you want to, like, we charge a little fee.
Oh, wow.
For the girls.
So will you ship the clothing to us? So?
Exactly. We have that. Yeah.
Okay. So let's quickly talk about your background, how the both of you actually came together to like form the band, and if you guys are by any chance related in any way, shape or form.
When did you meet?
Okay, actually we met in the University of Nigeria in Nsukka.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where you were studying engineering, right?
Yeah. And pharmacy.
Pharmacy, wow.
Yeah, so we met on the day we like to call the Red Spider Day. It's the day that Mission met Vision. It was two guys that had converging dreams. So we met that day and we decided to steal that sheep from that day. Sheep Clothing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So just to clarify, there's no like biological whatsoever?
No. The name of our first project we put out is In Spirit.
Okay.
And that, I think, embodies the connection that we share that, Nigerians like about us. Two boys were connected in spirit. Destiny brought us together. And, I feel like it's a very, very, small representation of what Nigeria is about. Different people come together.
So in my experience, dealing with like bands and groups, there's always talk about longevity, in terms of like, will the both of you be together like forever, or will there be some kind of splitting along the lines, because like most of the groups.
I swear. look, that question is I like to say at this point, that question is usually a certain type of pressure that is put on groups. You understand? Yeah. Just let everybody enjoy. Let everybody enjoy. When a single artist, like a single person, comes to the studio, you don't ask them how long they will be that person. How long will you be a single artist? How long will
but sometimes longevity matters. So you can ask them like, what would you do to stay relevant?
Because sometimes some people.
I think you can ask us that instead of asking us. You can ask us, okay, how do you guys intend to stay relevant as Mars and Barzini?
As Mars and Barzini together.
Thank you very much, because I'm made to feel guilty.
Even twin brothers.
But the idea is never use
and that's one of the reasons why I decided to.
He's scared of the splits. Don't worry.
Yes. I think you should give him some reassurance.
I think that is the point where you are supposed to be affirmed your hope and believe.
Because you're really passionate about it.
But if you are doing something, you have to do with your chest.
It's like he was touched in a wrong place.
We as the consumers, we have to learn to take responsibility for the longevity that we want from this group.
Exactly.
Like, let's use the whole P-Square thing, for example. I feel like Nigerians have a role to play. We had a role to play, you understand? Really? We push them to that point. Push them to that point. Yeah.
Cardi B comes for Nicki Minaj again, threatens to beat and sue her. Okay, so
these ones are Ife's babes.
Out of context again.
Out of context, really?
Yeah.
Okay, out of the full interview.
Saying that she would beat and she would sue.
So sensationalism again.
Really?
She only said that, look, you're talking about, she's acting like she's the victim, like Cardi was the one who attacked her, you get. And Cardi is saying, then in that case, I should sue you for defamation because you are saying that I have attained this level of success by sleeping with other people and by something called payola. I explained payola the other day, right?
Wait, sorry, you're confusing me right now. Is this Cardi B that is speaking?
Yeah, this is Cardi B saying this.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And this was after...
Please explain payola.
Payola is when it's a term where you have to pay before you get your songs played on radio or on TV, or you have to sleep with somebody to get your song played or your video played. You get so it's called
it's illegal.
Payola. Yeah, so it's quite illegal for some stations to take money from an artist to play their music. So if you're insinuating someone is doing that, you're saying they're engaging in a criminal activity. So she has the right to sue you for defamation of character. Do you understand? And then she's saying, stop playing the victim. And then Nicki Minaj went on our Queen Radio yesterday, on Monday, to say stuff about Cardi saying that one of our friends that was there during the fight at the New York Fashion Week beat Cardi B. And Cardi is like, that's not true. You came out to say you were mortified and you were really embarrassed about the whole fight. And this same you're now telling us that your friend beats me up during the altercation. Like, where do you belong?
Nicki is talking about...
So we don't know. So Nicki wants to be ghetto. She wants to be the queen. She wants to be...
At the same time,
so Cardi is saying that, look, we can sit down and talk like women, or we can sit down and talk it out, or we can, you know, where we can link up and fight it out.
Do you think Cardi B looks like somebody you can just sit down and have a conversation with? She looks like that lady that you're sitting here, you say something and she reaches over the table and she's already on you.
Do you think Nicki is that type of person you can ever sit down and have a conversation?
Well, I don't know them personally, but I'm talking from my own perception of what they're showing us.
Both of them don't look like they can sit down.
They cannot sit down. Even if Nicki decides to... Nicki might be the one who will even say the thing that will piss her off or get her angry, you know?
Yeah, because like the last time that's what happened.
She's going to fly right over and a fight is going to happen. So
but let's
you saying they will
talk about
sit
it
down
that
and talk.
Okay, but if there's even a fight, who do you think will win?
Wow.
Because now I'm sure you guys will say Cardi B, but you never can know what kind of punch Nicki Minaj can throw.
I don't know. And considering the fact that some parts of the body is not really original, you don't know what can happen.
Wow. Both of them.
Exactly. Both of them.
For the both of them. So you don't know when the punch will go to the wrong place and something will open. And so please, they shouldn't get to that level.
Oh. Well, I just think Nicki Minaj really should stop playing the victim, because the other time she went on a show and she was all crying in the show and mortified about what happened, blah, blah, blah. And then saying this issue is like, it happened September 7th. This is October.
That's more than a month.
Do you get like way more than a month? Do you understand? And then you still went back on your radio show to bring up this old beef. So I can understand where Cardi B is coming from. She's really...
And then, did you hear that she made some merchandise based on the actual fight?
Nicki?
Nicki.
Oh, yeah?
Oh. Yes. My eyes are now opened. I've been used, Kanye West declares as he announces separation from politics. And also, Kanye was told not to date Kim because of her sex tape, Kim Kardashian reveals. So those are the two stories that we're going to be discussing simultaneously, or, you know,
yes, well, they are connected one way or the other, if you want to look at it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, Ife, which one do you want to start with, and what do you
I would want to start with the fact that Kim said the reason why they said Kanye shouldn't date her because of a sex tape, and that she's a reality star. Yeah. And against all odds, they still dated her and they're still together. And she made reference to the fact that he tends to make her better at whatever she does. So that is why she would always stand by him. Now, why I said they are connected one way or the other is because she doesn't always stand by him, because she doesn't follow his political views. She doesn't agree to most...
You know, she mentioned that we disagree, but we stand by each other.
Exactly. So
no, she said they've been through a lot.
Yeah, she also mentioned the part of disagreement. Yeah, they disagree in some things.
And 9 times out of 10, she supports him more than she disagrees.
Yes, yes, so, true that. And like I was telling you yesterday, that the only time you see Kim Kardashian reply a troll is when it's about Kanye West. So she's always been a very supportive wife. I wish you could do more instead of just wearing the same color of clothes with me.
Elsie, let me hear your view on this. On this.
You just dismiss.
I don't know. Today, if I just leaves opposite my expectation. I expected him to start from the fact that
the
Kanye
politics,
said, you know, that has been the part that has, you know, held juicy. But I don't know what's going on.
No, I wasn't even done well. Okay, but we just wanted to hear your view.
Yes, before.
I mean, what she said is not new. For me, it's no news. Everybody said it, whether it's Kanye's friend or, I mean, most people said the marriage won't go more than 6 months or 1 year. And what people
exactly
expect. You know,
and that's one of the things Kim likes about him.
Going on his own path. So
on his
that's
own path,
one of the things
and that they've been together.
Like
yeah, it's good.
And
so,
then for the political part, like okay, Kanye has been bashed left, right, center for his
and he's just
political views. And I'm wondering why all of a sudden he feels the need to pull away from politics, because you already have the platform, and I expect you to even use it. Even if you want to step back, now the only reason why you're stepping back from this is because of Donald Trump's new policy that they are going to be revoking.
No, that's not what I heard.
He has not given a reason, but for me,
he has given a reason. I saw a reason, and then he was saying exactly, and that he was referring to Brexit, not President Trump.
Brexit is totally different from the political. First thing he said was he's pulling out because of what Trump is doing right now, revoking people's citizenship.
No, he didn't link it that way. He mentioned that, yes, he feels people have the right to come in. He did not specifically say this is the reason. He just said he feels like he's being used.
And now the latest on it is that he has said that he wasn't referring to Trump and that he was talking about Brexit.
But I think this is off the back of the fact that who served Donald Trump recently?
Pharrell Williams.
Yes, from his actions and reactions to everything that's been going on. I mean, somebody like Kanye West, if he's really as deep as we see him to be, that alone should make him think, why would this man do something like this and I will be here?
But Donald Trump exactly, and they've still been together. Yes.
It's just like a relationship when you're a man and a woman. The woman annoys you, or let me say the man annoys you, and then you are there.
You're now saying both of them.
But it's just one thing. It's just one final thing that will break it, and you feel, no, I can't do this anymore. So this might have been that small thing for Kanye West.
I don't. Look, well, tempted to believe
for the political stuff, I think the Brexit thing, because he's saying that when they wanted to do it, I think those are people against the Democrats. They are the conservatives, right?
They're against,
I think the movement is for the blacks to leave the
No, they're not the
Democrats.
Republicans that did the Brexit. I think they're the conservatives.
You're still watching Tea Time Roundup, where we bring you some of the most appealing recaps from the program during the course of this week. But before we bring you the next set of clips, we'll take a quick break and then we'll be right back. It's where the big stories live. This is Plus TV Africa.
When I did it, I was full-on, hands-on on the whole project.
So how did you deal with it? All of that negativity?
I got depressed, obviously. Duh. Haven't you heard?
I've got 2 of the hottest topics currently trending on social media. If you've seen the word Senate trending on Twitter, that's because the Nigerian police force has gone Trump style.
I haven't shared this with anyone, but I reckon I get about like 100 people asking for help a day. That's a fact. I can prove that.
Welcome back. It's still Plus TV Africa. It's still Tea Time Roundup, and it's still the most remarkable discussions this week. Take a look. $1 million deal for an Abuja pool party. Okay, Elsie, let me come to you on this.
She's not expensive, Sha.
She's not expensive. You would have charged more?
No, I mean, it's Black China. Party, they will book your accommodation and everything, so that's not the issue. I'm talking about the money she's taking home, and I feel like it's not so expensive. You know, when I read the headline, I was looking at it as $10 million. I'm like, okay, okay. Until I read it well, I'm like, oh, 10 million naira. I mean, it's a pool party. They'll get their money back, and it's business. So,
but I don't understand.
The question now is, why Black China?
You took it out of my mouth because I was going to.
Why Black China?
Were they going to pay Floyd Mayweather and were considering whether it was too small or...
Was it not $300,000 or $750,000? Between 300 and 750.
That's money.
Exactly true.
But
so why Black China? I need Ife to ask that question.
China to start.
Yeah, that's the question. Why Black China? But it's a pool party, so she has the backside.
What is she even going to do?
She's coming to party with people that come into party in the pool.
And that's where you will
come into party in the pool.
And that's where you will splash 10 million naira.
Yeah.
Because a lot of
there will be ticket sales, yeah.
Okay. So a lot of people want to come to that pool party
because of her
fellow slave queen,
and it's
people
a
that look up to her.
Party as well.
And the location is not going to be disclosed publicly.
So it's an exclusive party, should we say?
So an exclusive things will happen there.
Because we all know what she does for a living.
Yeah, she'll probably strip there.
Yeah, she'll probably strip, so she'll probably make more than $30,000.
But apparently she doesn't strip anymore.
Well,
anyway, well,
find out.
Exactly, we'll find out. Yes, watch this space. We'll find out how the pool party.
No, it will be awesome, sure.
Yeah,
she'll be there to represent us.
No, I won't be there for sure.
Why?
Because I'm not in the mood for a pool party with Black China.
Ooh.
You know, like, what am I going there to see?
Beyonce?
Yes.
Now you're talking.
No.
What?
Oprah Winfrey.
Yes. Yes.
Kemi Olunloyo.
Are you alright? Like, have you had dinner or lunch or whatever? But yeah, it's a good deal for her. She should come and make some money.
But I also believe that, you know, if that's the plan, then they're going to make more of a lot of money.
No, of course, they weigh their options and they know they'll make their money back.
But I'm thinking that they would have, you know, gotten more than I think they are paying her, or more than or less than she deserves. Does that make sense?
No.
Okay, I believe that they will get much more money and could actually pay her more than this 10 million naira.
That's not anybody's business. That's their business.
No, I know. I'm just saying based on this.
Of course, they wouldn't splash 10 million if they don't think they would get 15 or 20 million back. Do you understand? So
you think they will get 15 million and then pay her 10 million?
Do you know
it's not making sense?
A lot for
5 million is a lot.
Parties.
Well, that's your only.
Yeah. And they know what they are coming to see and get.
No, I'm just talking about the figures. Like if they saying 5 million.
Can you guys remember a few weeks back, it was reported that her boat deflated.
You can go there to want to see the deflated boat. That's his business.
People will be going there to see because she's going to be dressed in the pool.
Yeah.
Pool, you know. You said
I'm sure that show is sold out right now. We are just here disturbing ourselves.
And it being available to the only exclusive, you know
you're probably paying Abuja. It's even better for them that's in Abuja.
Nah, I wish it was in Lagos.
So you will go. You can still fly down to Abuja.
Lagos will probably.
Wow.
I have private jet too, but my father had to borrow it. Any problem?
Oh.
Okay.
So what did you by any chance see anything? How true it is? Oh.
If I don't believe
I don't believe it.
So I just didn't bother to check.
You're a typical man. There's nothing different.
Our story so this afternoon, rapper Akon is to run for president in 2020. Is he allegedly or it's been confirmed? Because I don't know if I saw.
From what I read, he is contemplating it.
Exactly.
But he's saying that he wants to keep on doing what he's doing with the whole power situation. When it gets to a point where people will now say, you need to run for this, we will support you. Instead of just coming out right now and hoping.
From what I understand, they said that to him, that if you run for president,
he was saying that. So instead of him coming out to just hope that people will support him. He wants to put in the work for as long as it's going to take for people to now say, you need to run for this.
So what work is he putting in? Because I'm like...
Well, he's been helping Africa with...
yeah, but how is that going to help him win, you know, an election in the US?
Well, that's like...
And then also,
humanitarian
we've only got like one and a little, how many years to 2020? 1 year and a few months. Is that enough to like prove...
Yeah, but no, he's not saying he wants to come out 2020. He's saying he would love to, but he wants to put in more work to get to that point where people can say, we want you to run, and not just him wanting to run.
Then I don't understand the 2020. Where does the 2020
is
come
just,
in?
I mean...
I think it's the people now saying that, okay, if he's saying he wants to put in the work and lets it speak for itself, and then when people now tell him that, okay, you can run for president of America, he wants them to support him. So the 2020 is if he gets nominated in 2020. So the 2020 is if he gets nominated in 2020, which is the next election year, then he would take the offer. Do you understand?
Because what I'm just
like Kanye West too.
Yeah, Kanye West said 2020, then moved to 2024, then 2024.
No, I think he's still on 2024.
Well, let's wait till 2028.
So we have, what if we have Akon and Kanye West going toe-to-toe? Who would you want to vote for?
Of course, Akon. No, come on.
Wow.
I thought Akon was even going to run for president of Senegal, not America.
Do you think the Americans will vote for him?
Well, you know, I said it. I have my reservations about another black president of America. I don't think my generation would see another black president of America.
When we have a new a potential black governor coming in, I think we can't say...
I do not think my generation, our generation, would see another black president before that type of history will be made again. Or, well, it can't be made again. The history has been made already. So before that type of history can reoccur, it would take a very long time.
And let's be fair, guys. Obama, technically speaking, is mixed race. Should we have like a proper black first? It can be the first proper black
guy.
Who is not in any way, shape, or form.
Where do you think he's needed more in his country?
Well, I would prefer it if it's not an immigrant. Like a proper African American.
And Akon is an immigrant.
Yeah, he's an immigrant.
Exactly.
Obama is an immigrant.
Yeah, but I feel like, I don't know, Akon is much more invested in Africa for them to want him to be the
that's
president.
why I say it would have been better if he was running for president of his country. You know, Wyclef Jean tried it with Haiti, and it didn't work out for him. So,
And I think actually in his home country, he may stand a better chance.
Of course.
You know.
When I read his story, what came to mind was the fact that Trump is now trying to change the order on immigration and when you're giving birth. Then I'm like, if Trump sees this again, he'd be like, no, I need to do this faster. This person, these people are getting too bold in this country.
But the truth is, a lot of Americans are not cool with Trump's policies. Even the white Americans, do you understand?
But some of them are, because he has supporters.
I think he has just as much haters as supporters.
I mean, it's looking like it's 50-50 right now.
It's a 50-50 thing.
Because for every one person you find that says they hate Trump, you find one or two people that say they like him.
Well, and then to him, you know, we're his enemies, the media.
The media. What about the African countries'
strengths and our weaknesses? So Trump has a strength, and that's the business part of it. He's a business man.
The figures are working out.
Yeah, the figures. Yes.
And he knows that regardless of
even
whatever
though
they say,
I said this somewhere, I think like 2 weeks ago, and someone had a serious argument with me, telling me, and you know, I'm not so much into politics, so I gave up the fight.
And that concludes our roundup of Tea Time clips from this week. For fresh episodes of the regular Tea Time program,
It's early morning at the headquarters of Rwanda's cycling team. Jeanne d'Arc Girabuntu is warming up, together with the other cyclists. They have 3 to 4 hours of training ahead of them in Rwanda's hills. Jeanne is the only woman in Team Rwanda, And last year, she was the first black African woman ever to ride at the UCI Road World Championships. I can only tell other girls and women, love the sport and believe in your potential. I never thought that I would cycle in the USA or Switzerland. I heard about those places, but I didn't know what it was like there. I've been able to travel and meet lots of people. Jeanne is ambitious. She needs competition. There are no other women who are at her level, so the trainer lets her cycle with the men. American Jonathan Boyer is Rwanda's team leader. It's almost 10 years now since he set up the team. Jeanne was just 17 years old when she joined, and she was a big surprise for Jonathan. She just suddenly turned up with a lot of talent, and she seriously wanted to be a cyclist. And I had to help her with money to get it repaired. Today, Jeanne is able to help her family out with the money she earns from cycling. She gets almost 1,000 euros a year as a member of the national team. She was always riding a bike, even as a child, says her sister. She was able to look after the cattle with a bike, work that's normally just for boys. She wasn't afraid of anything. For Jeanne, there's nothing better than coming back to visit her family. She comes to see them every 3 months. I'm really happy to see my friends. I really miss them. It's important for me. This way, when I get back, I can concentrate on the competition and don't have to keep thinking about when I'm finally going to see them. Jeanne has been cycling for Rwanda's national team in Africa for 2 years. Now she wants to take part in races in Europe. She says there are more competitions for women there, and she hopes that her biggest dream will come true: to cycle for Rwanda in the Olympics.
I actually moved back to Nigeria to open a bakery. This was my goal, and everything I did up till this point was in preparation for this. First of all, life was great because I moved in 2015 right before the recession, right? It was awesome. I was like, wow, there's so much money out here, man. The cost of overheads, power generation, water, you have to be your own local government. And there are no tax breaks. Many places where, where they realize the small business environment is difficult would offer some kind of tax breaks and incentives. We don't do that out here. We want you to come back. We want you to, to start businesses here, but we're not going to do anything to help you. All my experiences in the past have led me ultimately to where I am now.
Good afternoon and many thanks for joining us on News on the Hour and Plus TV Africa. I'm David Alabi and here are the stories making the headlines. Now we begin with reports that President Muhammadu Buhari has warned Nigerian elites to stop misleading the people through unguarded utterances. Represented by the Director of Corporate Communications, National Universities Commission, Ibrahim Yakazai, the President gave the caution at the 24th convocation ceremony of the University of Uyo on Saturday. He said that the federal government would not condone or tolerate provocative remarks capable of causing fear and spread hatred among the people from any person or group of persons. Prince Ngige says conciliation on the national minimum wage will still continue on Sunday. The minister in the statement said, quote, the conciliation meeting involving the organized labor, the organized private sector and government scheduled for Sunday, November 4 at the office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation by 6 p.m. is still on course and will hold, end of quote. Senator Ngige said that the meeting will be followed by yet another meeting of the National Tripartite Minimum Wage Committee meeting on Monday, November 5 at the same venue. It will be recalled that despite the Justice Kado ruling expressing halt on the strike, the organized labor had threatened to commence an indefinite strike on November 6 to press for a new minimum wage of 30,000 naira for workers. And there may just be shortage of fuel next week as the Nigerian Union of Petroleum and Natural Gas Workers pledged support to the Nigeria Labour Congress and the impending strike on the 6th of November. The national president of NUPENG has said that since his union is an affiliate of the NLC, it would fully adhere to any directive the NLC gave. The organized labour had fixed November 6 for the commencement of an indefinite strike, even though the federal government on Friday obtained an order from the National Industrial Court restraining the organized labour from doing so. Last week, the Nigeria Governors Forum said it could only pay 22,500 naira as minimum wage, a position that was rejected by the unions who insist on a minimum wage of 30,000 naira. Now, the Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project, SERAP, has urged President Muhammadu Buhari to order a second probe of Governor Abdullahi Ganduje of Kano State. SERAP asked the President to direct the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Abubakar Malami, SAN, and appropriate anti-corruption agencies to also investigate the allegations. Quote, if there is relevant and sufficient admissible evidence, Mr. Ganduje should face prosecution at the expiration of his tenure as governor, end of quote. The organization also urged the government to instruct the Attorney General and/or appropriate anti-corruption agencies to ensure the protection and guarantee the safety and security of journalist Jafar, who reportedly published the video clips. The governor has been probed by Kano House of Assembly over the widely circulating video clips allegedly showing Governor Ganduje receiving bribe. Imo State Governor Rochas Okorocha on Saturday withdrew security personnel and staff attached to the office of the Deputy Governor of the state, Ezimadu Mary. Reacting swiftly, the Deputy Governor has condemned the action, describing the action as unwarranted. He expressed disappointment at the decision during a conversation with journalists, recalling that since his acquittal from the impeachment plot in the High Court sitting in Owerri presided by Justice Benjamin Hieka, there had been gross disregard to his office. He added that the Commissioner of Police, Dasuki Galandanchi, could not restore his security in spite of the court's verdict since September, noting that it portended danger of his life. The governor said he wishes to notify the Inspector General of Police, Commissioner of Police, Imo State and other security agencies to take note of the suspicious actions and inactions of Imo State government led by His Excellency Rochas Okorocha. Moving on, Kazim Gaidam, the Electoral Commissioner INEC in Adamawa State, says it has 288,043 unclaimed permanent voter cards. Quote, we have a total of 288,043 uncollected permanent voter cards, out of which 164,409 cards are for 2017 and 2018 registrations, and 425,252 authentic registered voters in the state. The Electoral Commissioner expressed concern over the development and attributed the situation to lack of proper voter education and enlightenment. He, however, appealed to those who registered and are yet to collect to come forward and collect the geopolitical zones of the country. He said that the states selected are from the 6 geopolitical zones, which included Edo, Cross River, Oyo, Ebonyi, Nasarawa, Benue, Kogi, and Kaduna states, as well as Zamfara and the Federal Capital Territory. The director said that some teams from the department had visited 6 sites in Ogun and 6 others in Edo State, adding that samples were taken from all the sites for analysis. Quote, we also visited lead and zinc mining sites in Ebonyi and a granite mining site in Calabar, end of quote. He added that the program, which started in October, would be completed by the middle of December. Also, the Minister of Power, Works and Housing, Babatunde Fashola, says over 90 million Nigerians lack power supply. This is against effort made by government since the year 1999 to ensure the availability of electricity to ensure economic growth in Nigeria. Well, our reporter, Mary Chinda, takes a look at the power supply situation in the country, especially from the perspective of residents in Lagos.
Only recently, the Ministry for Power, Works and Housing had announced that there has been a major improvement in power generation and transmission across the country. A major improvement from the 4,000 megawatts generated in 2015 to 7,000 megawatts as of August 2018. Question is, how exactly does the extra 3,000 megawatts translate into improving the lives of the ordinary Nigerians? Sounds of generators in most places in Africa's most populous nation, Nigeria. The unstable power supply has been as old as the nation itself.
Well, the time we spend using generator is more than the time we spend in having light. Sometimes we don't even have it throughout the day. Sometimes it's when we're closing, maybe around 7 p.m. they bring it. So we are used to it already, so we just prepare ourselves having generator. If you can see, some of us, we even have more than one.
Most times what we actually use is generator 24 hours. But sometimes now they do bring lights. They will bring the lights. Sometimes they'll bring it like 5 minutes time. They will take it back. But constantly they do bring lights in the nights. And during that time, between 6:30 to 10:30, but that time we have already closed from work.
This shop owner, who doesn't own a generator, says half of the day he loses his customers.
As you can see, there is no light. And it makes us to lose customer. Because if customer walks in, there is no light. Maybe I have fan here. And if they walk inside because of heat, so they will go outside. They will go. So we normally lose customer because of heat.
Some residents who spoke with Plus TV Africa say they have been on the receiving end as power supply is generally poor.
Sometimes the NEPA may be bringing light around 7 o'clock in the evening, so they will not take it till the following morning.
The power situation is very poor. For the past 3 days now in my area, we've not been having lights, and it's quite terrible. So I have to be bringing fuel from my work every day. So I don't think I'm not happy with it.
Light situation anyway is not that balanced. It's not 100% balanced at all. We use light to sleep in the night, but during the day, there's only a challenge of light.
We have light from 9 o'clock in the night. They brought our light to 5 o'clock in the morning. Then they will take their...
As Nigerians continue to call that stakeholders in the power industry intensify effort to ensure that the lack of power is no longer an issue in the country, one thing that is certain is that it may take quite a long time for Nigeria to achieve the goal of having 24-hour electricity across the country. From Lagos, Nigeria, Mary Chinda reporting for Plus TV Africa.
The news at this hour continues in just a moment. Stay with us on Plus TV Africa. Glad to have you back, and if you're just joining us, you're watching news on the hour on Plus TV Africa, and here's our African news package. Now, Egypt announced on Sunday that gunmen linked to Friday Minya attack were among 19 militants killed in a shootout with security forces. The Interior Ministry said the militants were tracked to a desert hideout west of the central Minya province when the men opened fire when security forces surrounded them. A published photographs purporting to show the bodies of the slain militants. At least 7 people were killed and others were wounded in the Minya attack on a bus driving towards a Coptic monastery. ISIS has claimed responsibility for Friday's attack, though it provided no evidence of its involvement. Meanwhile, Pope Francis on Sunday expressed his sorrow for the victims of the attack on the Coptic Orthodox Church in Egypt on Friday. The Holy Father offered condolences to the families and the community. 7 people were killed and 18 others wounded, including children, when 2 buses were attacked near a Coptic monastery in Egypt's Minya province on Saturday. Islamic